Hello, it is Chantel here, and you are watching Studio Expansion TV, bringing you more passion, more profits, and more purpose to your studio. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you a case study of the lovely Jen from Iowa and how she grew her studio by 30% in just 6 months. Do you know what is so fascinating about this case study is that the way that Jen achieved 30% growth in 6 months wasn't by spending a whole bunch of money on marketing. It wasn't that she tried Facebook ads for the first time. It wasn't that she got a whole lot of publicity in her studio. In fact, she kept her marketing efforts exactly the same in her studio. The only thing she did was work on her team, which is so interesting. What she decided to do was that she realized in the studio, most of her students were coming in through word of mouth. She didn't need to invest time and money on marketing. If she concentrated on word of mouth, everything would change. So she thought, okay, what does that entail? What do I need to do as a studio owner in order to grow the studio by a word of mouth? And that comes down to, as I'm sure you know, delivering the most outstanding student experience. But as a studio owner, we can't do that all ourselves. We need, as the whole team, to be delivering that consistently. So Jen thought, all right, so if I'm going to grow the studio by word of mouth, I need to make sure every single one of my teachers, even what she calls her studio concierge, her kind of front desk welcome team, they also need to be absolutely 100% on the ball with passion and excitement, enthusiasm for meeting every student, for making every lesson exceptional. And that is going to get that energy happening, that buzz happening in the studio that's going to organically spread the word about the studio. So she devoted 1 day a week. She kind of cleared her classes. She delegated her teaching load 1 day a week so that she could focus purely on mentoring her teachers. And every month she gets all the teachers together and they have a meeting. They actually use one of my programs called the Retention Solution to guide them. And literally by focusing on retention, by focusing on word of mouth, they've grown by 30%, which is so remarkable. And the best thing about this is it hasn't cost anything. And in fact, everyone in the studio is happier. So what I love about what Jen has done is that she realized that each of her teachers is motivated in different ways. And I'm not sure if you've read the book called The 5 Love Languages, but she realized that some of her teachers really love receiving gifts. And so she comes to her teachers and she gives them little surprises, leaves little presents for them in their area. Others really like that kind of words of affirmation. So Jen makes sure that every week she's on the phone saying, you were so great at this and I really noticed that you were wonderful in that context. Others really love to have a big hug and feel like they're part of the family. And so once you discover how your teachers like to feel praised, how they're motivated and inspired, we can bring that into the mentoring process. And that book, The 5 Love Languages, is a great place to start. Another brilliant thing which I thought was so clever was enabling Jen to see how her teachers were performing in the classroom while she wasn't there. Because that's kind of what it all comes down to, is how do we know our teachers are delivering this amazing experience? How do we know that they're connecting with the students? How can we trust and how can we kind of test, I suppose, that they are meeting the criteria of what you would like? And so what she did was so clever. She just set up FaceTime on her phone in the classroom. And so then the teacher would just call in via FaceTime, sit it on the bench, and then Jen could kind of just call in and just see what was going on in the classroom, see how the students were interacting, how the teacher was going, how the pace of the lesson flew, and then she could just say, okay, seen enough, and that then formed the basis for their kind of weekly chat. So that, they could discuss, in that situation, I may have handled it this way. They can kind of relate to any behavioral management issues, but using FaceTime, super easy. You might think that to grow your studio, it all comes down to marketing, but sometimes it really is just about the experience you provide your students. And by concentrating on what you want your students to feel, how you want them to engage with other students, what type of wow factor you want to give when they come in through the doors, by concentrating on those kind of fundamental basics of the studio, that's often where you see the big changes happen. It's about creating an environment where everyone wants to come to and to bring their friends. And if you can make that happen, you won't even need to worry about marketing. And that's what's happened to Jen. She doesn't actually need to worry about marketing because she has what I call a self-propagating studio. And that means that her studio has enough kind of raving fan students that they go out and spread the word and tell their friends, who bring in more students. So it's self-fulfilling. The current students attract more students in every single week. And that is living the dream. Your team are the core of everything we do, and if your teachers can come to the studio absolutely thriving with happiness and joy and so committed to giving to your students, it's going to affect your business so beautifully. And not only that, it's going to really help with your teacher retention as well. And if you can keep your teachers really connected and really committed to your studio, it means that they're not going to go somewhere else, which is, going to impact on your student retention as well. So everybody wins, and bringing the team together is the strongest, most transformative thing you can change in your studio this year. As an extra little bonus for you, I've actually given you the opportunity to download an interview that I did with Jen. And so here I ask her lots of questions about how she actually achieved this growth and how she worked with her team to bring them together to really focus upon growing the studio. It's so informative, and you're going to love Jen. She's one of my favorite people in the world. And so you can download this interview below. It's going to give you lots of inspiration about how to achieve this same effect in your studio. So in the meantime though, in the comments below, I'd love to know, how often do you bring your whole team together for a meeting? And not just to discuss, the upcoming productions, not to discuss curriculum, but actually to discuss the student experience you give in your studio, because that's really different. So post your comments below. Did you like this video? If you did, you can subscribe to Studio Expansion TV by clicking the button below. And if you've got a friend who you think might be interested in hearing this interview with Jen, please feel free to share this video with them as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time with more of Studio Expansion TV.